All right, so this is Kenzie Long and Terry Beam, and Natasha Brooks is out of town, but I think she is going to listen to this and respond to our questions whenever she gets Wi-Fi. So this is the Zoom session for the SIP and for the SIP task 1 and 2, and then for the CAAP task 1. So overall, just kind of talking about the SIP task 1, where we had to actually do the 2 different needs assessments. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on those? Any surprises?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I think for me, looking at that, the information from, the teachers, and then looking at the teacher working condition survey and all those things, I'm wondering, and this is crazy, how honest our teachers really are with some things. I wonder that they just don't want to get dinged, or they're wondering if it's really anonymous, because to hear some teachers say things and then to see that the percentages are way in the top. I think the most negative percentages were for our, and I may be jumping ahead to another thing, but for when it comes to state and district and all that stuff, the state testing and stuff. Mm-hmm. But then when we were looking, I'm thinking, we have a lot of businesses. When we did the needs assessment, we have a lot of businesses that work with our schools, but it's just within the CTE department. If you're in the career, and not for those kids who are not going to be career technical education people, So I don't, there weren't surprises, because I knew that we didn't have a lot of parental involvement, but to see on the teacher working conditions survey, they think that teachers say, oh yeah, we have parental involvement, and I'm going, but where? We have one parent that I see, and they're on the SIT team. Mm-hmm. And we've asked parents to help with PBIS stuff, and they don't show up. But you go to an elementary school and parents are everywhere. In high school, they're just not. So I don't think there was any surprises for me, because I knew, I don't know. But to hear a CTE teacher or the coordinator say, I wish we had more businesses involved, was kind of surprising to me. What about you?
I mean, I was surprised, especially after, going through this program and understanding that, part of the being an effective administrator and all of that is that community outreach and that, parent involvement that you have in the school. And I knew we worked with, because Winthrop is in Rock Hill, so I know we work really closely with them as far as like recruiting teachers. We get all of their, if they have to do their internships, they're usually at our school. So I knew that we did that aspect as far as recruiting teachers and all of that. But I mean, we don't really work with communities that much. And so that really kind of opened my eyes to like, why, what are we doing to reach out to them, and why aren't they wanting to come in? Because when I read your paper, I was like, man, they have a lot. But when you say it's within that career place, our applied technology centers off campus, because the whole district shares one. So they probably do a lot of stuff with the community involvement and stuff, and I didn't even think to ask them until I read your paper. So that might be a good idea for me to do. But I was really shocked that we don't have more people just in the building, and it's kind of one of those things I was scared to ask, like, why not? Because it's like, why are you not doing this? Yeah. But I was shocked on that end.
I'll say in the program, like as we continue to learn things and grow, it's one of those things that sometimes I feel like, oh my God, I know this is going to make us better, but I feel like I'm challenging the current administration to say, okay, well, why don't we have A, B, C, and D? And then to try to, but they've been open and willing to say, okay, well, whatever we can do to make it better, let's do it. We have our school, one of our schools, elementary schools, is now year round. And she does like a community outreach thing where they have like a fun day and have free hot dogs and different things like that for families, because they're a really poor school. They are like 100% free and reduced lunch. And I know that it's a little different with elementary than it is in high school, but there's where you go from having PTA and PTO in one organization and then you don't in another. But I will say one of the things that I liked about when I read your paper and then read Natasha's too was, because we are a Title I school, a lot of people, the organizations want to do things that's going to take away some of the barriers, like financially for people, like providing Christmas, like Gardner Webb provides Christmas for families, or they do the backpack lunches or backpack things where they take the food home for the kids on the weekend. But I don't think we have a couple, like I remember one guy coming in this past year that worked with, was kind of like a mentor, and so he worked with the kids, but they have an education program. So why aren't those kids from the colleges who are wanting to go into education, instead of waiting until they have to do their student teaching, come mentor or tutor some of those kids during the time? And that's one of the things I think I am going to add to my paper, because I think it's a great idea if we could get them to come be involved in another way other than financially. Because I know we do have a higher poverty, kids in higher poverty, but we still need to make sure they're getting that education piece, because we can fix them having clothes, we have that stuff, we have food that we can send home, but if we're not getting them 21st century ready by letting them learn English, math, social studies, science, then I think we're doing them a disservice too. So I think that is one of the things I'm going to add or talk to administration about, even meeting with Gardner Webb about maybe seeing if some kids can come tutor some other kids in math, and instead of them having to figure out how they can get to Gardner Webb to do it.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, that's a good point. Like, community involvement, I'm pretty sure it's not just so that they can give money, I think it's far more than that. It's, about just exposing kids to what's going on in our community before they're just released and have to figure out what they want to do all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But one of the recommendations in my paper was to kind of like what you said your elementary schools do, because we're now a STEAM school of choice. And so I went on a conference last week, and it was all about, maker learning and STEAM and what you do. And, to get some of that equipment and stuff, what they do is they have these community open houses once a month. And they just kind of, open the doors, get the community involved, get parents in there, get grandparents in there. And then they just tour the school and, ask students, what they're learning, let students show off and tell people what they're learning, let teachers show off. And then just as far as with the STEAM and the equipment, like get the community members in there, just even playing with the equipment, the 3D printers and the laser cutters, because, if they don't know what's going on, or, executives of a business, they don't remember what it's like in high school. And even if they did, it's changed so much. So unless we get them in there and let them see what we're doing, then I think they'll really buy in and, want to have partnerships and things like that. So that was one of the recommendations I did. And I really got that last week from the conference that I went to, because I think the biggest issue is people don't know. I think people still have this assumption that high school's the same as it was when they went 30 years ago. And I'm hoping that's not the case.
Yeah.
Where we're just, sitting and talking for 90 minutes. So I think that was my biggest kind of eye opener with this is, wow. I mean, they don't know unless they get in there and see.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But I did like the idea about the open house, because I think that's good. I was going, oh my God, but once a month, is that going to be, taxing, or who will do it in that, time frame? Who's going to be responsible for being there? Is that a requirement for all the teachers to be there? Do you give them an incentive for coming, like a half day? Because I know that that has to be taken on a non-student day. What do you do to make sure that somebody's there when the open house is there,
Yeah, no. And I mean, when I was thinking about, okay, how often do we have them? And that kind of takes us to task too with the resources. I'm like, okay, we don't need any financial resources, but we have to have tons of human resources there. And the only reason I did it so frequently was because this is our first year opening up our maker space.
Mm-hmm.
So we have nothing. So we need like people to come in and donate, tools, screwdrivers, just anything.
Right.
So that was kind of my vision for that. And, we have this gorgeous facility now that just finished in May.
Okay.
So none of us have been able to like take our classes in there and actually get started with things. But, I'm just thinking I would come, for an hour once a month just to get that space to where it needed to be. That's just kind of incentive enough. But then once that space is kind of equipped with everything, then yeah, definitely not once a month. I don't know how you would get teachers there that often.
Right. Yeah. That was my thing, because I'm going, gosh, it's hard enough. They complain about staying for one night each semester for parent conferences.
Yeah.
And so, gosh, to try to get them to come in every month. I think it's a great idea though, because people can come in and see, your school and see what's going on and have them contribute, donate, do something. So it's a great thing. So thought it was good ideas. I think of anything else was there.
Well, what about the second prompt for like the strengths and weaknesses of the school leadership? See, mine's a little bit weird because we don't, obviously I'm not in North Carolina, so we don't have that survey that I have access to. The only one we do is, it's like in March, and you go down and you're not even required to take it. I think they usually have dessert or something if you come down during lunch to fill out the survey. So it was just like 72 questions when I requested the information. It was 72 questions on this spreadsheet, just no order, no rhyme, reason for the questions. So it was kind of difficult for me, and I guess a learning experience, because I had to kind of go through and highlight, okay, this is, this applies to the school leadership. And then for the CAAP, I had to go through and do, okay, this question applies to teacher empowerment. This one applies to facilities. So I kind of, that part was more difficult for me just because I didn't have that survey that already had it, outlined there.
Right. I think again, it's easy because we're able to see the data, but I don't know that the data is 100% accurate. And we didn't have, some of the schools in the district did have 100% participation. There's no incentive for taking it. They just give us this thing. It's supposed to be anonymous because they give us a number specific to certified teachers. You have a paper that somebody in the school gives to us and says, fill this out. And obviously we didn't have 100% participate. But when you don't know, people have the option of is strongly disagree, agree, don't know, strongly agree, or agree. And when people say, do you vote on your SIT team members, and 5 people don't know what, like those things, I'm going like, really? And I can remember sitting in the library and the principal going, so you really don't know, when every year we sit here and say, when you go back into your departments, vote for one person to be the SIT rep. Like, that's what it means. Or when some people just don't answer the question, or you have people that don't do it. And I think if they like you, then they're going to not want to be honest about it. But if you want conditions to change, because then I know what they're griping about in the teacher's lounge, I know what's happening. But then you look at the teacher survey or teacher working condition survey, and it's looking like, oh, everything's just great. When the lowest thing I think it was one that was 68%. And so I said, yeah, we need to look at improvement there. And I think it was, God, I cannot remember right now, but I put it in my paper, but it was just not something I thought would be that low.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It was interesting on mine because especially when I did the leadership, like most of it was, fine as far as, setting high standards, shared vision, all that stuff. But then the biggest percentage was, teacher and staff morale. I believe the teacher and staff morale at my school is high, and that was the biggest percentage of people that disagreed. And I'm like, okay, but you just said all of this stuff was fine. So,
Yeah.
but there was one thing, and it was about like the non-instructional duties.
Mm-hmm.
So I think because we got a new assistant principal this past year, and we have a lot more meetings. We have a lot more just not really duty schedule, but just a lot more meetings. He'll schedule these meetings called faculty planning sessions, and it's during your one planning period, and it usually lasts an hour. And so that was kind of new this year. So I'm thinking that was the biggest reason that the morale was low. And I mean, we really just don't even do any type of staff, team building or anything like that. The few people that I went to the conference with last week, I was like, wow. I mean, I've never talked to you this much in 4 years that I've been at the school. Like, there's something wrong with that. If you're upstairs on a whole different hall, I mean, you just don't see those people. But there needs to be some sort of opportunity built in throughout the school year for us to just forget about education and just talk, because if you want those, collaborative planning sessions and things like that to go well, you have to have a relationship with the person that you're working with.
That's true. That is true. And I agree with what you're saying, because you can get so disconnected. I would say this will be our administrator's third year there. And when she started, I guess she met with each person that worked, each educator, and said, what do you want to see better? What do you want to see, different? And I guess people mentioned about staying after school for staff meetings, because for the first year, we only had maybe every 3 months an after school staff meeting. But during the day, during planning, she gave us you have 4 options. You can come during first period, second period, third, or fourth to give us the information we needed each month. And so it kept from people having to be there till 4:30, 5 o'clock for a staff meeting, because we would all get the information during the day. I think it's good because it cuts down from staying after school. But the bad part and then you have your coaches that are there, where coaches don't get to go to faculty meetings because they have coaching duties, but you miss out on seeing people, or getting to know people. I walk down the hall and I'm going, I saw that teacher the first day of school. I know she's new, but I never get an opportunity to try to, meet her or do anything. So we do have, with the PBIS, we try to have Christmas time, or it's Thanksgiving and Christmas. We'll do like a potluck, and during Charge of Crowd, they'll give us a non-working duty or whatever, and everybody sits in and tries to get to know each other or whatever. But it's still, I mean, it's hard we do need to do some things that kind of bring up morale by not making some people feel like they're alone.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. See, we meet after school every single Tuesday from 3:45 to 4:45.
See, I wouldn't, that kind of break, because that could be frustrating every single Tuesday.
Every single Tuesday.
Every year.
Last year I had a dentist appointment. I mean, you make those like 6 months in advance. I mean, 4 o'clock, they close at 5. And I mean, I got this email like I had just done something terrible because I was not at the meeting for that month. So I think, and just from hearing teachers talk, and I mean, I guess this is, I think this is true too, but it's frustrating because in our faculty meetings, most of the things that we go over are just, bullet points. It could have been sent in an email. It's not like we use that time for, professional development and get speakers in, so it's just kind of frustrating that it's like, really, we just sat here for an hour, something that we could have all read.
And that's the thing that people said that they wanted to quit doing, because if we're sitting there, you can send it to us in an email, then do that and stop taking up our afternoon time. Because right now, a lot of teachers are coming to try to, I got kicked out of the kitchen, sorry. A lot of teachers are coming to, they use that time to try to plan, to try to grade papers. And now you're making them sit in to listen to stuff that you could have just told us by email. If there's something important, yes, I agree, then maybe we should meet. But if it's not important, that I can't just read it and get back to you. I think sometimes administrators realize that everybody does not read their emails too.
I know. Yeah.
And so that's one of the things. But I don't know. I don't know if there's a win-win, but I would definitely not have everybody there every Tuesday for an hour after school.
Yeah, it gets very, especially, in those long months, February, March, where you're just, you don't really get a break, and it gets very, very just monotonous, and you're like, really? But one last thing that I was thinking about when I was doing all of these like needs assessments and things, and I know, it's one large assessment, but, teachers have to be evaluated every single year, just making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. And it would be nice if administrators, if I, when I become an administrator, I want to do this just because I think it would, help me be more effective. But I would send out just a survey just about, me, just for my personal evaluation, how are things, what's working, what's not working, and just make it, I don't know, like an anonymous Google form, and just
get feedback from that. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because it's self-reflection. I mean, it's reflection from others, and then it's to look back and go, okay, how can I be better for my teachers? I think it's a great idea.
Have you ever had an administrator that did that?
No. Mm-mm. I know one who used to be an assistant principal at the school that I am, and she applied and got a job at a middle school, and she did that at the middle school. And I didn't know she did it, but one of my friends that works at the middle school said, we got this survey from our friends. She said, nobody's ever done that. And I think it's cool that we were able to say, at the end of the year, that this is what we thought you did well, and this is what we think that, of course, she said I'm sure somebody said some things that really weren't relevant, which you're going to always get. Yeah. But to know at the end of the year what you need to work on to help you be better, but to also help them be better. I think it's a great idea. Great idea. I like too in Natasha's paper where she said that to have it anonymous during the year, like say that teachers are able to make complaints about things during the year that may be good, and it's anonymous. I like this. It made me think about the bully drop. When somebody's being bullied, you can drop it in the bully box.
Yeah.
But, then that way you're able to make changes, during the year if something needs to happen, versus trying to wait until the teacher work. You fill out the teacher working condition survey, or the survey that you guys do. And then you wait for all that information to be compiled, and then you get the information the next school year, and then then you try to make the changes,
right?
As opposed to knowing what little things that need to be tweaked throughout the school year. I just think that's I thought it was a good idea. So
that is.
I suggest as well.
And I just wonder, because just looking at that survey I'm like, oh my goodness, I just wonder how much because once again, it's like one of those questions you're like, okay, how much do you read this and how much do you really pay attention to it? Or is it just something you have to do?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know.
Because, they probably get the results back, when school's starting, and that's probably how crazy when it is when school starts, especially just placing kids and just getting all that stuff. I'm like, when do you actually get to sit down and read this? November?
Right. Yeah. Probably not even then. But unless the superintendent says, "Did you see this? This is what we need to change." But I will say this, because I did look at, I think in 2016, in the area of technology, teachers were saying that they didn't have enough technology to do it. So I think somebody at the district level may be looking at it as opposed to school level, because the next year we're all getting new MacBooks, those kind of things. Yeah. So when I looked at that, and I think I wrote, was it in the CAAP or the SCIP that I wrote that, or maybe in the SCIP that I wrote that about, the technology was something that the district had really taken seriously. And now we're doing the one-to-one with some kids, and then brand new smart boards, and Apple TVs and those kind of things. Within the last couple of years, those things have been coming in. So the district may look at it, but I don't know how much is really happening at the school level. But of course, if 90% and 80% of people saying things are great, then do you change if you had the majority saying that the people are things are going well?
Right.
So I don't know. I think it needs to be the state that looks at it and stop all this crazy testing, but that's just that is just me. So I don't know.
Well, anything from the CAAP? I think we kind of talked about that piece too.
Yeah, I think we did too. The leadership and empowerment pieces of it, and looking at the survey again. Yeah, I think we kind of just
lumped it all in.
Yeah, lumped it all in together. But
well, I mean, it all goes together. It's not. I mean, anytime you're analyzing data, it's it all kind of goes together, anyways. When you're looking at how it affects your school and stuff.
Yeah, that is true. I'm realizing again how much all of the things come into play. When you're looking on the outside, you're going, oh, well, I mean, I know I'm looking at my test scores. I'm looking at how this, how many kids this is happening with this family. But to see how community stakeholders and how teacher empowerment and leadership and time and facility and technology and all this stuff comes together to all help to try to raise student achievement. Mm-hmm. You mentioned about looking at the parent involvement piece, and I actually had a whole article from the NEA or something that talked about how important parent, family, and community involvement is within the school system. And so that is something I'll add in my paper as well. But just going along, not thinking before you started that how all these little things are kind of fit together like a puzzle to make it all work. And if you have any pieces missing, it may not work. So,
and it's so strange how, I guess we're both high school, why does the level of parent involvement, why does it, tinkle down so much by the time they get to high school? I mean, I know that kids are older, but, the importance of the parents still being involved. I mean, I'm not a parent yet, so I can't really speak to this, but, I would think the justification of why you were there in elementary school would still be the same when your child was in high school.
Absolutely. And so I agree with you, because I am a parent, and I don't think that I would ever go, okay, you're in high school, so now you do it yourself. No, it doesn't work that way. They're not mature enough to do it. But I do know parents, and I don't know if it just depends, because there's some that are overly involved. There's some that don't even know that their kid, I had, and this is a true story, had a parent who came into the guidance office one year. This was when I was in another school, and her son was in the 11th grade, but he kept telling her, I'm supposed to graduate. And she came in and was like, no, he's supposed to graduate. Like, he stopped coming. I called parents because he stopped coming. When senior week, he was out. The week of senior exams, he was trying to take his exams. And then when seniors got out early, he was leaving with seniors. And so it was like, something is wrong. And I even pulled his transcript and said, okay, he's only been in high school for 3 years. Well, he failed a grade in middle school or something. He was held back, or elementary. And so mama came in and said, no, he's supposed to be graduating. He used to play football up here. Well, I think he was able to play football with the 9th graders because of his age when he was in the 8th grade. And mama assumed that he was in high school because she wasn't really involved. She kind of let him do his own thing, and she had a bunch of other kids. And I'm going, but wait, I don't care if I had 10 kids. I'm still going to know with my 10 kids what grade he's in, what grade she's in, and making sure that I'm following them. But I think they think it should be less responsibility and more responsibility on the child. But if my kid fails, it's going to be on me. It's not going to be on the school. So,
right. I get that whole, let them have more responsibility, but I would still think you would want to be involved, just because if you're involved, I mean, research shows that your child's gonna, do better if you are involved with the school, and he knows he can't lie to you about what grade he's in.
Exactly. You go home telling
so that was when I was doing the parent involvement, I'm like, really, our parent involvement's that low? And then I have my best friend's an elementary school teacher in the same district, and it's a Title I school. And I mean, they have parents in there all the time.
All the time.
And I'm, you know, the philosophy doesn't really, I don't know, that was interesting for me to see. I'm like, I mean, I know they need more responsibility, getting them ready for college, but that doesn't mean you just say, go to school, come home, make sure you eat your lunch. I mean,
I know, I agree with you, but I think I said in the SIP that I would, you know, give that information to parents to let them know your involvement is going to be what helps your kids succeed. Even now, talking to parents, period, parent, you know, teacher conferences, whatever, your involvement is going to be what helps your kids succeed. Yeah, they're going to it'll get on your nerves. Sometimes they'll say, stop checking my grades. You know, we have Power School because I'll come and say, I just looked at your grade. What is this, 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 and this? But in the end, it's going to make them better and achievements higher. That's what the research says. So we're going to have to go with the research until somebody tells me different.
Yeah. I mean, even from an administrative standpoint, you know, you'd much rather, you know, the parent know in October that their child, you know, is not doing well than come December and they're at the school freaking out because their child failed. Okay. Well, you know, something's not right here.
Yeah. My husband's a senior English teacher, and every year come April, May, when you know, have to, and you've made contacts and told them, okay, kid's not doing too well, then at the end of each semester, a parent is frustrated because I had no idea. Well, why didn't you? Because I've called you, I've had you didn't return my call, or, you know, whatever the situation is. I've tried to notify you, but why didn't you know this from day one? Because you haven't been involved with your kid. So, be involved with your kid, be an overbearing parent, because when they go to college, you're not going to be able to call and say, can you tell me how his grades are, unless they sign that little paper that says, I give my parent permission. Even if you are paying for it, you have no rights to your kid's grades. So you might as well do it now. But, you know, I don't know. I don't think that there is, I would love to find a high school that has perfect parent involvement. Because if so, I think we need to take a visit there and see how they did.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee their graduation and rates are probably higher than what ours are. But no, I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, anything else?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, I'll stop recording now. Let me see.